People that have watched this channel consistently know that some of my favorite games are story-based. I'm willing to overlook shortcomings in the actual gameplay as long as there is a good story being told. And I would go as far as to say that the best games that I've ever played are just the ones with my favorite stories in them. Well, recently I played Hellblade, a story-driven, narrative-based game that, in my opinion, completely sacrifices gameplay to tell their story. Now, this is a big red spoiler alert warning. If you have interest in this game, then by all means, click off of this video, go play the game, then come back and watch if you're still interested in what I have to say. Just know that I personally did not enjoy this game for reasons that I cannot explain without ruining the entirety of damn near every major plot point. Also, the fact that I don't like this game should not deter you from getting it yourself. Do not let my opinion tarnish yours, because I completely understand what Hellblade was going for and how it could in fact work for some people. So let's go over what I actually did enjoy about the game first to get that out of the way, because there's no doubt that a lot of effort was put into the making of this particular experience. First of all, the game is just beautiful. There's no questioning that whatsoever. The fact that Hellblade looks this good without having a AAA team behind it is just absolutely incredible. The textures, although gritty in some areas, are fantastic in others, and the facial movements and the detail they put into the cutscenes are as close to lifelike as you can get in gaming right now. The scenery and setting is unique and intriguing, my favorite part of the game being when you reach this wall of arms in hell. In fact, this game's depiction of hell is the best in all of gaming in my opinion. The walls and backgrounds are full of bodies, and it creates sort of this unsettling atmosphere that other games have failed to do in the past. The atmosphere as a whole in this game is top notch. Hellblade goes leaps and bounds to get you to feel a certain emotion, and does succeed at times, mainly due to its absolutely unparalleled psychosis sound design. The voices in your head are your best friend and your worst enemy. They will help you complete your journey while consistently calling you stupid and worthless. I found myself talking back to them as they insulted me for not completing an objective fast enough. And although I have not had psychosis or have personally met anyone unfortunate to go through that particular struggle, I will say that the thought loops and insults these voices convey are the most accurate display of internal monologue that I've ever heard in a video game. And the final compliment I can give Hellblade is it did in fact get a range of emotion out of me. The tricks this game plays on your mind do in fact work, such as the seemingly unskippable death animation that you will realize later at some point that it's entirely avoidable, and the threat of permadeath at the beginning of the game. But that brings me to all the terrible things I have to say about this game. First of all, they consistently lie to you. This permadeath mechanic does not exist, and the first thing you all are gonna say are, well, Mr. Narrator, the point is the fear is all in your head, and fear can manipulate you, and that's what Senua goes through in her mind. Well, that's an excellent point. But how about this? Instead of tacking on a sentence of text in the beginning of the game, why not just add a special death sequence once the player dies enough times? One that starts the game over for a short amount of time, then brings you back to where you were. Given the other fake outs they put in this game, I don't feel like that would have been outside the realm of possibility. I'm not saying the reason behind this idea was bad, I'm saying that blatantly lying to the player at the start of your game was not necessary to get this point across. See, that's just like the first nitpicky thing, and I'm already starting to get upset. The major headache of this game is actually playing it. Now, Hellblade is not completely devoid of good gameplay. The smooth and stylish combat is fun for the first, I'd say, 10 or so fights, and some of the puzzles later in the game are decent. My favorite being when you have to light torches in a cave so you don't get lost. But see, the main puzzle in this game is finding symbols on terrain and structures on the map. Now, when I first started playing, I thought, wow, this is a fantastic idea. Little did I know that this would be the majority of the gameplay. Wandering around looking for ways to contort the world to make it show what you want to see sounds like an extremely interesting mechanic, but its execution is fucking terrible. Listen, it was fine when you only needed one symbol to open a door, but quickly the game makes you get 3 runes per door, and I enjoy a good puzzle and everything, don't get me wrong, and I wasn't terrible at these sections either, getting through most of the doors in a moderate amount of time, but there will be literally some symbols that just stop you dead in your tracks, having you look around aimlessly for the section of the map you're given until you find the part they want you to go to. And another problem is they give you hints on where to stand, but it's too vague because it's basically a circle that cuts through the map vertically, so you can see a hint to where a symbol may be, but it actually could be in a completely different area that just so happens to end up being above or below you. And there are other puzzles in the game, like connecting parts of the map that look like exploded shards of glass until you see them from a certain angle, and going through these doorways that make parts of the map look different, but all of these are the side puzzles that help you complete the significantly worse main objective. Most of this game is literally walk around until you can open a door. The worst puzzle in this game, in my opinion, is where there's a whole bunch of blue symbols that you have to line up to the door that you have to go through, so you have to look at these other doorways to get rid of most of them. It just takes so long, and it's drawn out, and yet incredibly simple at the same time, because the game wasn't testing my problem solving ability, it was testing my will to continue. Eventually during my playthrough, a certain flowchart started to emerge, where the combat sequences would show up just to slow you down. They managed to introduce new enemies consistently, and there are interesting boss fights too. But to me, it became apparent that the combat was only there to stop progress. It got to the point where I could tell with 100% accuracy where and when a fight was going to happen. The breaking point for me was when I had to connect parts of a bridge to hell, and on the path to getting each part, there was a combat section for each one, and once you finally get the bridge fixed, as you're walking across, there's 2 more combat sequences that pop up. Between these bullshit, meaningless battles and the puzzles that basically rely on trial and error, I found myself saying out loud, just let me finish the fucking game. Please. I felt like Sisyphus trying to get through this fucking game, alright? See, you can make the argument that Hellblade is forcing you to understand the tedious yet necessary struggle of fighting your inner demons and finding the path to enjoyment in your own life. But I say this game is mostly a padded mess. The puzzles are padding. The combat is padding. Half of the fucking story is padding. You want me to talk about the story of Hellblade? Do you really want that? You want the fucking story ruined? Well, here's the story. This girl has an incredibly abusive father. That in turn made her head fucked up. And then her boyfriend died. So she says she's going to hell and back to save him. Yes, very touching. But the story is a lie. The real story is Senua goes for a walk. That's it. Listen, put your keyboards down. I know you're upset. This game was a life-changing experience for you. I get it. I truly do. But the ending of this game sucks. It sucks and blows. She carries this stupid fucking head around all game and actually ends up dropping it, having the game be padded even more, forcing you to get it back. And what does she do at the end? What does she do with this head that she cares about more than anything? She throws it off a fucking cliff. I'm not kidding. The head has been the only thing she has cared about through the entire story. The head of her deceased boyfriend that she fully intends to resurrect. And then it just fades away into the fog below. Like, that's how fucking high this cliff is. And I get the point. I fully understand that she had to let go of her hate and anger to become at peace with herself and let go of the past. But this is one of the worst anticlimaxes in gaming history. Why did I have to go get the head when she dropped it? Why couldn't we end there? Why couldn't there be a drawn out monologue sequence where she could end her journey knowing that it's futile at that point? Why couldn't there be a cutscene at the end where she just desperately tries to resurrect him but fails, and at that point she gives up? There isn't even a final boss fight. This game beats hella for you in the final cutscene right after the head falls a billion miles into nothingness and Senua just fucking walks away. Sure, her voices are gone. She has no internal monologue whatsoever, and I assume that she has become at peace with herself, but the world around her is still absolutely terrible, and she's probably gonna die from infection. But fuck it, she let go of the past. And I love that some people are gonna be like, oh, she could have never resurrected him, that's not realistic. Well, what the fuck about this game gives you the impression that realism is what the developers were going for? And if you tell me that the point is the journey and not the destination, then I cannot stress enough how much I hated going through this journey. It was mind-numbing, and I could not wait for it to be over. Now, all that being said, I fully support Ninja Theory in their future projects. I do not think they're a bad developer, by any means. This game was just so aggravating, to the point where I feel like I need a physical copy of Hellblade so I myself can throw it off of a fucking cliff and be able to cope with the fact that I spent 8 hours playing this disappointing, overpadded, pretentious, mediocre game. It is not worth a playthrough, and it has absolutely no replayability, unless you want to get all of the lore stones. Even if you miss some, you will get the gist. Now, I was harsh on this game. I'm well aware of that. I might have given into the hype just a little bit, but in my opinion, the great graphics and the atmosphere it creates does not make up for the fact that this game fell short in every other aspect. But like I just said, this was just my opinion. By all means, feel free to leave yours in the comments section. I'm really interested to see if anyone that has played this game shares my point of view, and I'm also excited to see if people can persuade me to change my outlook on Hellblade. If you enjoy me discussing various topics in gaming, such as this one, please hit that subscribe button. You will earn a special place in my heart. And please forgive my hiatus on the Games You Might Remember series. There has just been a lot of games I've played recently that I feel genuinely are worth discussing. But if you want to have a personal conversation with me, then join the Daily Quest Discord. There will be a link in the description, and the next video will be in exactly 1 week. Until then, peace out.